Zendaya and Robert Pattinson star in the latest film from A24, The Drama, which is a new romantic comedy, question mark. We'll get into that and all the details about this movie, of course, keeping it spoiler free for you in our review of The Drama.
This is Popcorn for Breakfast, presented by St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. Now, here are your hosts, Cam and Kurt.
Welcome back to Popcorn for Breakfast. We are so glad to have you with us. With me today is Stefano. How you doing, man?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you, Cam?
Doing well. Yeah, I am Cam, and Kurt could not be here today, so it is just the two of us today, and we're talking about a really interesting film that's getting a lot of buzz. It's called The Drama. And the last time we were together in this format, Stefano, we were talking about a movie called The Moment, which was also an A24 film. So that's a little serendipitous. But the reason that this one is really buzzy, we've got Zendaya, we got Robert Pattinson. I mean, these are appointment television, right? Like everybody wants to see these two act, and having them in this sort of like rom-com, though I think you and I both know it's a little bit more than a rom-com, but in that sort of setting is something that people are really wanting to tune into.
Absolutely. It's also in an upcoming year for Zendaya that has The Odyssey and Dune Part 3. It's kind of exciting to see her in not this big blockbuster. Not that there's anything wrong with those movies. I'm so excited for them, but I'm excited to see maybe a more grounded Zendaya.
Yeah, she joked that she was just like gonna fall off the grid after this year because between those two films, plus like I think Spider-Man, she's in the Spider-Man movie too. Yeah. So there's just like tons of exposure, and we do see that every once in a while from actors. And of course, Robert Pattinson has been everywhere recently. I mean, it feels like, and he's getting ready to go off and shoot the Batman Part 2. So yeah, this is a big one with some big names. Plus, I mean, this supporting cast too. You got a lot of Alana Hayim, you got Mamadou Ache, Haley Gates, who we just saw also in The Moment.
Yeah,
I was trying
absolutely.
Which is funny.
I forgot that was a thing. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's get into this one, man. There's a lot to talk about in this movie. We are going to keep it 100% spoiler free, and really like the inciting incident or the inciting plot point of this movie is the like one big true spoiler about this. So we're gonna dance around that one for you guys, keep it spoiler free. But if you're new to the program, basically how we're gonna go through this is Stefano and I are gonna take turns giving takes. Take 1, take 2, take 3. Breaking down the film, the things that we liked about it, didn't like, just found interesting in general, things that we want to talk about the film. At the end, we'll do a segment called Last Looks, where we give our final thoughts and our score on The Drama. And Stefano, I'm going to let you kick it off, man.
All right.
Take 1.
So I feel like I'm taking 2 with this, but it's an important aspect. You can build on it, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with just the chemistry between Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. And, a lot of times, like on paper, you have 2 phenomenal actors that are going to be in a movie, and you can be excited, but you can also have some hesitation because you don't know how they may act together, and they might not seem like a good fit. But in this film, I think they are pretty much pitch perfect together, apart, just fully throughout the movie. And I think their chemistry is so well balanced, and they both give such amazingly naturalistic performances that feed off of each other so well. Obviously you have these 2 superstars on screen, but there's something so normal that it feels like about them and about a lot of their conversations they have in this movie that is relatable. Obviously, a lot of the movie is not relatable at all, but a lot of it is just based on how they present themselves and how they act together. They're in a relationship, and you can see, some of like the little quirks and things that they do together that you might see in your own relationships, and just seeing how they bounce off each other was really impressive. And I loved it so much because of that, for sure.
Yeah, I love that you called that out. I had Zendaya specifically circled in my notes because I am just really coming to appreciate her as a performer. I love getting to see her in more diverse roles these days. I think, she's such a big name. And so she's obviously, tends to pop up in a lot of more mainstream projects, but I think about Luca Guadagnino's Challengers from a couple of years ago. She blew me away. She blew me away in that movie. And she's never turned in a performance that I was like, that was rough. Like, I genuinely think that she's excellent every time. And this was such an interesting character for her to dive into. And I thought she was stellar. And yeah, Robert Pattinson, I mean, he might be the master of chemistry. I'm just thinking about like coming off that performance opposite Jennifer Lawrence at the end of last year. And he just seems to really gel. I mean, he'll do whatever it takes to totally fit the tone of the movie, even if that means making up a ridiculous accent. Like, he's gonna go there.
Exactly. And that's something I think I told you right after the film. Like, I was so happy to hear him speak in mostly his normal voice.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's always having to kind of put on a show. But it was really great to kind of just see him in his element. But and by the sounds of it, everyone always, raves about working with Rob and how good of an experience it is and things like that. So
he comes across, and I know it's press tour and stuff like that, but he comes across very grounded, very like, just like a very solid, like easygoing kind of guy. So
yeah. And if people keep not realizing that he's been in maybe 10 straight awesome movies with amazing performances, I'm sick of hearing people now in the Lord's year 2026 saying Robert Pattinson. What?
It's just, at this point, it's just reckless ignorance. I feel like, where like there was like a grace period on that for sure. I mean, I think back to even like when he got cast as Batman, I was so quick to be like, what is this? And you were like, no, man. Like, you were like, go watch Good Time, go watch, I don't know if High Life was out at that time, but you like hit me with a couple movies. You're like, go check this out.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I feel like the grace period is over. It's time to get educated. It's time for people to realize that he can absolutely bring it.
Absolutely.
He's become like one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
Love that call out for take one. For my take one, I'm going to stick kind of on the acting, but I want to talk about the characters that they were playing. I love I don't even know how to phrase it. I put unique character archetypes, but I think that what's cool about it is they're not archetypes. Like, these are characters like there's no, like, oh, I've seen this kind of character before. Like, it's very much more nuanced and definitely like painting outside of the lines. I felt like for these characters, and that was really refreshing, to just have characters that you could sink your teeth into a little bit, because it wasn't just like, oh, I've seen this kind of like cliched character a zillion times. And certainly like in a movie where there's a relationship element, you somewhat expect that, but this was totally different. Like, I felt like the screenplay and just the way they approached the storytelling here flipped everything on its head. They're like, let's just
totally,
they weren't afraid to be like, let's make our characters a little bit unlikable, because like Robert Pattinson's character is like kind of detestable at multiple times in this movie. Like, this guy is like a spineless, I don't know. He's harmless, but there's elements to him that you're like, man, I kind of hate this guy, but you also really understand him. So
of course
there were times in the movie where some of the characters I wanted a few more layers, or even if those layers existed, I wanted to explore them a little bit more selfishly. But I liked that you couldn't take anything for granted. You couldn't make assumptions about these characters, because they all had their own stuff going on, and there was a consistency to it and a real nuance to it. And I found that really interesting.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think both of those characters, specifically Zendaya's and Pattinson's, have such specific backgrounds or elements to them that are crucial to understanding the film.
Yeah.
Like, Pattinson is from England. Like, the film takes place in Boston. He works at, is it Cambridge?
Cambridge. Yeah.
So he works there. So he's from England. So he has this outsider's perspective on America, on American relationships. And of course, Zendaya character has her own baggage that is so specific, but is crucial to just how the whole film plays out. And it's really great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Take two. Where are you going for this one?
Take two. The editing. I absolutely love how this film was edited. It's a little jarring at first, but I think it plays into the type of story it's telling so well. I think there's a lot of jump cuts. There are a lot of kind of like intentional, like incomplete lines, like a scene is happening and it's panning and it kind of cuts a little too early and it's super disorienting. And I think the what these characters kind of go through in the film, which of course we're still going to dance around, but is a disorienting situation. So obviously edited to put you into the shoes of the characters, which is an obvious editing tactic, but I think it works really well. And I think it just lends itself to the tension of the film and makes it a little more engaging. I think, you know, a typical rom-com or whatever it might be will be edited in a very specific in a expected way, so it kind of adds a little layer of it of like, oh, what am I watching? Am I actually watching a rom-com? Am I watching some sort of thriller? Am I watching some sort of, I don't know. But yeah, I think the editing was really outstanding, and it really played well into the story.
Yeah, I totally totally agree with that. And I think too, you're throwing me lobs here, like alley oops, because I that goes right into my take too, which is about the tone. And one of the things I love about the tone of this movie is really like there's two main things. One is that element that you were talking about, that the editing and how it can be disorienting. I love how this movie like flirts with the surreal without going all the way there. There's always something to draw you back in. And a lot of times it's these really funny interactions that they have with these like side characters. So this whole movie, like they're planning this wedding. And so they're interacting with all these different vendors, right? Like the flower person, the photographer, the food people. And I love how the movie uses those encounters of just like super in your face, human, real moments to bring you back, to just be like, yep, we're still here. We're still in reality. There's weird stuff going on. These guys are having all kinds of paranoia and all these different thoughts buzzing around in their head, but like we're still in the realm of reality. And that is so, I mean, that is so how it feels sometimes. Like whenever you're going through life and you have some drama going on in your life, like it feels like you're on a different planet, but then you're constantly getting smacked in the head by like the everyday goings on of your life. And so I thought I loved that touch. I felt like it was really thoughtful. Totally. The other thing I like about this movie is about the tone. I mean, it keeps you completely on a knife's edge most of the movie. It also hits you with a ton of laughs, and a ton of laughs to where you're like, should I be laughing right now? But you can't, like, you can't not. So I like how the movie kind of uses the audience's preconceived biases and notions and anxieties to get them to react to in certain ways. It's almost like a good horror movie in that way, in which it's like a good horror movie is going to use your fears against you, and it's going to know that you're walking in afraid of certain things and then hit you with that. This was kind of the same thing where it's like, we know you're going to walk into this movie with certain biases, and here's how we're going to use them to elicit emotions. So
yeah,
it's sharp.
It totally is. And like, I know you brought up the kind of that horror comparison, but like some of the tone and the editing, it's like a 30-second, spot of the movie can feel kind of like a horror thriller. And then it'll hit you, it'll smack you back to reality. And then it'll be something super funny. And I think it balances it so well, like you said. And I think the audience you see it with, it may alter how you perceive the film, right?
That's a great point.
We saw it with a couple of, fellow area critics. And I think a lot of the uncomfortable moments that we laughed at, other folks laughed at as well. But if you see this at 7:30 p.m. and there's like teenagers on a date night or something, then I don't know if it'll elicit the same reaction.
Yeah, so it's almost really like everybody's waiting for permission to laugh at certain things.
Yeah, there were a few moments where I'm like holding my laugh to like see if you're gonna laugh. I'm like, I mean, this is funny. If I laugh, I laugh. If you think less of me, that's okay.
Yeah, it's so unique in that way. Yeah, really, really thoughtfully put together, both from the editing perspective and then also the writing and tone that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Take 3, final take. What you got?
Yeah. So I think I know it's always kind of like a not lazy, but something we fall back on is to talk about pacing. And I really do appreciate the pacing of this film. It's, basically the week before Zendaya and Robert Pattinson's characters are to get married, right? And like we said, there's an inciting incident that basically potentially makes them question whether this wedding is even going to happen, and that's kind of the whole conflict of the film. So the film is structured basically like the days leading up to it, and I just appreciated the structure and the pacing of, okay, here's this portion with this vendor, and here's this thoughtful conversation, and then here's, some reflection, and then this conversation. And I think that each of these kind of set pieces of conversations have enough time to develop something meaningful. And I think that was a huge part of it. Like, not too much of it was glossed over. And I think while managing these like extended conversations, they still managed to keep the pace tense throughout. And especially in the second half of the film, once we're getting closer to wedding day, it ramps up a bit, and there's more like day of situation stuff. And I think that more, medium pace to turned up pace builds up the tension a lot. And like, my stomach was hurting because you
Yeah.
also kind of want this film to go a certain way. And I was kind of thinking in my head, if it does this, I'll be upset. If it does this, I'll be happy. So it kind of keeps you guessing. And I really appreciated that from this
Yeah,
movie.
100%. I mean, I think every person I heard who was like chattering after the movie last night was saying some version of, you really don't know where it's going. Like,
Yeah.
you just really don't know. And that's such a great feeling.
Mhm.
It's not that like a predictable movie can't also be a good movie.
Course.
It certainly can. Like, there certain stories we've seen 1,000 times and they're still good. But there is something to be said about something where you just don't know where they're going to take it. And,
Totally.
and they keep it open-ended to where you get to the final scene and you're like, how are they going to land this plane?
Right.
And there's at least 10 different ways I can think of that they could do it. Yeah. So, I mean, it just really keeps you locked in.
And before your take, it's even more impressive when there is this like spoiler that's out there, right?
Yeah.
So people think that the movie's success will hinge on knowing this information or not, and that's just not the case at all. You and I actually both knew going into it,
Yeah.
basically, at least a little bit of what this spoiler might be because of certain news outlets and things like that. But it takes a good movie to basically overcome that and to make you realize that the quality is not going to hinge on just like one plot point.
Yes, exactly. Like, if it does, then you don't have a good movie. Exactly. So this is certainly answered that one. For my take 3, I want to go with the storytelling finesse. I find it so important. And I tend to like yearn for this now to have storytellers and filmmakers and writers just show restraint
Mhm.
and not go super crazy or go for shock value or go like completely bonkers to prove a point. Like, particularly with something like this that's satirical, I've had such an issue with recent satires just being so in your face, so loud. And I think I think it's hard because I think the media environment that we're in right now, people have short attention spans. They don't, they don't think as hard about things. I think a lot of studio executives are pushing for filmmakers and television writers and things like that to make their stuff more accessible, more digestible, quicker to the brain. And so if you're getting those kinds of pressures from the studio as a writer, you might go, well, I could just do this and really spell it out for people. Love that this movie just did not do that at all. I felt like there's great theming in here, but it has to develop, it has to build. And at no point did the director choose to shock the audience into anything. I felt like there were so many opportunities where I thought it might go that way and just never did.
Yep.
I felt like everything that happened, you felt like it was not like, oh, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is there were many times where I was like, oh, I hope they don't do this because that would be over the top, or I hope they don't do that. It's not that there aren't things in the movie that shock you. Like I said, it keeps you on a knife's edge and keeps you guessing the whole time. But there were so many points where I was like, oh no, they're going to do this, aren't they? And then it's like, nope, no, they're not. They're going to be really thoughtful about it. So I very much appreciated that about this movie.
Yep. Totally agree.
All right. Last looks. Wrap it up, Stefano. Anything else you want to say about the drama, and then hit us with the score?
The only other things, I think the supporting cast was great. I know you mentioned some of the supporting cast members.
Yeah.
Some really good performances, a lot of really funny, memorable moments, really clever writing. And I think that, people already have a preconceived notion of the film that, some people are concerned with it being too bleak or a little tone deaf or this and that. I would say go into it with your own with your mind clear. Like if you want to go see this film with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, just kind of block out the noise, go watch it. You may really like it. You also might hate it. It's certainly not the crowd pleaser that some people might think this movie would be. I know, materialists got a lot of flack because it was advertised as a rom-com and it was not necessarily that. And this is kind of being advertised as a rom-com, but I think if you like check the IMDb, it does say dark comedy, things like that. So I just, push you all to take a chance on this one, because I think there's a lot for people to appreciate in it. And yeah, I liked it a lot. Really did.
Nice. And your score?
Oh yeah, score.
Trying to duck the score.
I'm sorry. I think I said this last time already, but this is actually my highest score of the year so far.
Okay.
At an 8.8.
Love it. Love it. I'm not too far off of that, to be honest with you. I love what you said about going into it with an open mind. I think particularly if you have heard what the spoiler is, it is something that elicits strong emotions in everybody. It's just one of those things. And so you will have preconceived notions heading into it. But to Stefano's point, I feel like if you keep an open mind and don't try to think about where they're going to go with it or how they're going to handle the subject or whatever, you might get something out of it. You may not. I do think this one will be divisive. Like Stefano said, I think it's going to stir up a lot of discussion on film Twitter and film Reddit and areas like that. And, we'll be the better for it with that discussion, I think, in general. But it's a very interesting film. 100% will keep you guessing the whole time. Really great performances from pretty much everybody in the cast, particularly our two leads, who are like totally worth the cost of admission, 100%. So yeah, also, Daniel Pemberton, what a year he's having. Project Hail Mary, and then this on the score. This is a really interesting score as well. Helps set the tone very nicely. And you used the word naturalistic earlier. I wanted to hit on that too, because this is definitely shot and lit in this very like realism sort of way aesthetically. I actually really like it. It's a very it's very bright and airy and naturally lit, and I feel like it looks very good overall. Like there might be times where you groan because you're like, man, their apartment is so beautiful, or like, nice. What have you. But
reminiscent of it reminded me of like a Joachim Trier apartment.
Oh, I know.
With his films, just like a beautiful, nice white apartment with.
Yeah, he's always gonna have like amazing houses because they always end up being like a character in the film. Absolutely. So yeah, there will be things like that, but overall, just a really great movie. Definitely one of my highest rated movies of the year as well. I'm at 8.4 on the drama.
All right, we're pretty close.
Pretty darn close. So yeah, go see the drama. I think go see it, form your own opinion. Hopefully you've ducked that spoiler. And I'm glad that we're not contributing to that anyway. I was super duper bummed when it came across my timeline the other day. I was just like, oh man. But it's one of those things that sometimes happens. And, to your point, Stefano, it still won't ruin the movie for you if you know it. So definitely go into it with an open mind, but it comes out this weekend. I think we're releasing this review on Friday, so the movie will officially be in theaters. So if anything you heard convinces you to go see it, you were able to buy a ticket. Just go out and make it part of your Easter weekend plans. And otherwise, we will talk to you guys on our next review episode. In the meantime, a reminder that you can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a Discord server that is free, that is linked down below in the description, where you can connect with us and talk about movies. We've been talking about the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is a very different tone and feel a little bit this week, but I'm sure our conversation will shift a little more to the drama once this is out. You can also go to our website. It's popcorn4breakfast.com. It's popcorn4breakfast.com, where you can find articles, latest episodes, information about us, things like that. So go there for all things Popcorn for Breakfast. But we want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan, the band Rhetoric, who created our original music, and our title sponsor, St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. And I, of course, want to thank Stefano for being here. Thanks, man.
Very welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. And I want to thank all of you guys for watching and listening. and we will see you on the next episode.